My beloved child, something within you has been quietly shifting, and you felt it, haven't you? Not in a loud or obvious way, but in those still moments, in the silence between your thoughts, in the pause before you fall asleep. There is a presence, a pull, a feeling that something unfinished is beginning to breathe again. And here is what you must understand: this is not confusion, this is not coincidence, this is a movement. Your person, the one whose absence once felt like a question you couldn't answer, they are no longer at peace with the distance. They have tried to convince themselves that time would fade everything, that silence would become comfort, but it didn't. Instead, something unexpected happened. The distance didn't weaken the connection, it revealed it. It made every unspoken word louder. It made every memory sharper. It made your absence impossible to ignore. And now, they are standing at the edge of a decision they can no longer avoid. Listen closely, because this is where everything begins to change. They are tired, not in the way people speak casually about being tired, but in a deeper, quieter way. Tired of pretending they don't care. Tired of replaying conversations in their mind that never happened. Tired of holding back words that were meant to reach you. The distance has not protected them, it has only shown them what they truly feel. And what they feel is not confusion, it is clarity. A clarity that arrived slowly, almost secretly, building behind the scenes while life moved forward on the surface. You may not have seen it, you may not have heard from them, but something has been unfolding. And now, it is reaching a moment where silence is no longer an option. Pause for a second, and feel this. What if the distance was never meant to end the story, but to transform it? What if everything that felt like separation was actually preparation? Because your person has started to realize something they didn't understand before, that running from a connection does not erase it. Ignoring something real does not make it disappear. And the more they tried to move forward without addressing what remained between you, the heavier it became. This is why they are beginning to feel a pull they cannot explain, a quiet urgency, a need to break the ice that has formed between you both. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but in a way that feels real, honest, and long overdue. Stay with this, because something huge is waiting for you in this moment. There is a shift happening in their thoughts, and it is subtle but powerful. They are no longer asking themselves, what if I move on? They are asking, what if I reach out? Do you feel the difference? One question closes a door, the other opens it. And right now, they are standing in front of that door, holding the handle, unsure for a moment, but no longer willing to walk away. They are remembering things they tried to forget, the way conversations with you felt different, the way silence with you was never empty, the way something about you stayed with them even when everything else changed. These are not random memories, they are signals. Signals that something meaningful is asking to be acknowledged. And here's the part that changes everything. They are beginning to understand that the distance didn't protect them from feeling, it protected them from acting. It gave them space, but it also gave them clarity. And clarity has a quiet power. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, but once it arrives, it does not leave. Your person is starting to see that the connection they stepped away from was not ordinary, it was not replaceable, and it was not something that simply fades with time. It was something that needed courage, something that needed truth, something that needed them to stop running and start facing what they feel. Don't skip this part, because this is where the energy begins to move toward you. The thought of reaching out is no longer distant, it is becoming real. They are imagining what they would say, how they would start, how they would break the silence without making it feel forced. And this is the beginning of the ice breaking. Not in words yet, but in intention. And intention is where everything starts. Because once a person truly decides to face something, the distance between thought and action begins to shrink. And now, something even deeper is happening. They are realizing that ending the distance is not just about speaking again, it's about being honest, maybe for the first time in a long time. Honest about what they felt, honest about why they pulled away, honest about what never truly left their heart. And this honesty, it scares them a little, but it also frees them. Because holding back the truth has been heavier than the fear of expressing it. So here you are, feeling something you can't fully explain, sensing a shift you didn't ask for, but somehow recognize. And here they are, standing on the other side of that invisible distance, feeling the same pull, the same quiet urgency, the same realization that something unfinished is asking to be completed. Stay till the end, because this is only the beginning of what is unfolding. The ice has not fully broken yet, but it has started to crack. And once something begins to crack, it cannot return to what it was before. Something is moving closer, slowly, quietly, but undeniably. And in the next moment, the silence you once knew may not feel the same anymore. And then, something changes in a way that even they didn't expect. Not all at once, not in a dramatic flash, but like a quiet realization that refuses to go away. It begins in the smallest moments, when they find themselves pausing longer than usual, staring at something that reminds them of you, or feeling a sudden stillness in the middle of their day. They try to ignore it at first, they try to move past it like they've done before, but this time it feels different. This time, it lingers. This time, it speaks without words. And the more they try to distract themselves, the clearer it becomes. The distance that once felt like safety now feels like something incomplete, something that needs to be faced. They start to notice the silence more deeply now. Not just the absence of conversation, but the absence of you. And that absence begins to feel louder than anything else around them. It shows up when they least expect it, in the middle of a conversation with someone else, in a quiet evening when everything should feel calm, in those fleeting seconds before sleep when the mind stops pretending. And in those moments, your presence returns, not physically, but emotionally, vividly, as if it never left. And they begin to ask themselves a question they had avoided for so long: why does this still feel so real? Don't skip this, because this is where the truth begins to unfold inside them. They realize that distance did not erase the connection, it only paused it. It created space, but within that space, something continued to grow. Something they didn't nurture consciously, but something that evolved quietly on its own. And now, it has reached a point where it can no longer stay hidden. They are beginning to understand that what they feel is not just memory, it is not just nostalgia, it is something alive, something present, something waiting. And here is the moment that shifts everything. They stop running from the thought of you. Instead of pushing it away, they allow it to stay. They sit with it, they explore it, they begin to understand it. And in doing so, they uncover something they didn't expect. They realize that what they felt for you was never temporary, it was never shallow, it was something deeper than they allowed themselves to admit at the time. And this realization doesn't come with noise, it comes with silence, a powerful, undeniable silence that changes the way they see everything. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you in this realization. As they sit with these thoughts, something else begins to happen. Regret, not in a painful or overwhelming way, but in a reflective way. A quiet understanding that maybe, just maybe, they walked away too soon. That maybe the distance they created was not a solution, but an escape. And now, they are beginning to see the difference. They are beginning to understand that what they avoided was something worth facing. This is where their energy begins to shift toward action, slowly, carefully, but intentionally. They start imagining what it would feel like to reach out, to break the silence, to say something that opens the door again. And this thought, it both comforts and challenges them. Because reaching out means being vulnerable. It means stepping into the unknown. It means risking a response they cannot control. But at the same time, not reaching out now feels heavier than the risk itself. And so, they begin preparing in ways you cannot see. Not in obvious actions, but in quiet decisions. They replay conversations in their mind, not to dwell on the past, but to understand it. They think about what they would say, not perfectly, but honestly. They begin to accept that if they truly want to end the distance, they must be real, they must be open, they must let go of the fear that once held them back. And here is the part that connects directly to you, because as they move closer to this decision, you may begin to feel it. A subtle shift in your energy, a sense that something is approaching, even if you don't know what. This is not coincidence, this is alignment. Two paths that once moved apart, slowly finding their way back into the same direction. Not by force, not by pressure, but by realization. Something huge is waiting for you in this moment. Because the ice is no longer just cracking, it is beginning to melt. The emotional distance that once felt solid is becoming fragile, and with every passing moment, it is losing its hold. Your person is no longer comfortable staying silent. They are no longer satisfied with distance. They are reaching a point where connection feels more important than hesitation. And just when you think this is all happening within them, something even more unexpected begins. They start to see you differently, not as someone from their past, but as someone who still holds meaning in their present. The way they think about you changes, it deepens, it becomes clearer. They are no longer looking back, they are looking forward, imagining what could be, instead of what was lost. Don't skip, because this is where the story begins to turn. The moment they decide that breaking the ice is not just an idea, but a possibility. And once a possibility becomes real in the mind, it is only a matter of time before it becomes action. They may not reach out immediately, they may take a moment longer, but the decision is forming. The hesitation is fading, the distance is weakening, and something inside them is saying, it's time. So stay with this feeling, stay with this quiet anticipation, because what is coming next is not random. It is the result of everything that has been building, everything that has been unspoken, everything that is finally ready to be expressed. And very soon, the silence between you may no longer feel like distance at all. And just when it seems like everything is still, something begins to move beneath the surface, quietly, almost invisibly, but with a force that cannot be stopped. Your person is no longer just thinking about reaching out, they are feeling it in a way that is deeper than thought. It is no longer a question in their mind, it is becoming a pull in their heart. A pull that shows up when they least expect it, in the middle of something ordinary, turning a simple moment into something meaningful. And this is where everything starts to shift from imagination into reality. They begin to notice something unusual. The more they try to delay, the stronger the feeling becomes. It is no longer something they can push aside or postpone. It follows them, gently but persistently, reminding them that something important has been left unfinished. And for the first time, they stop resisting it completely. They don't argue with it. They don't distract themselves from it, they simply allow it to exist. And in that allowance, clarity grows stronger than ever before. Don't skip this, because this is where the truth becomes undeniable. They are realizing that what they feel is not something that can be replaced, not something that can be ignored, not something that fades with time. It is something that has stayed consistent, even through distance, even through silence, even through change. And that realization brings them to a moment of stillness, a moment where everything becomes clear in a way they cannot explain but cannot deny. And in that stillness, a decision begins to take shape. Not loudly, not dramatically, but firmly. They are no longer asking themselves if they should reach out, they are asking when. Do you feel the difference? One is hesitation, the other is movement. And right now, they are moving closer to you, even if you cannot see it yet. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you in this turning point. They begin to imagine the moment of breaking the ice, not perfectly, not in a rehearsed way, but honestly. They think about the first words, the first message, the first step back into connection. And instead of fear stopping them, something else begins to guide them, something calmer, something more certain. It's not about saying everything at once, it's about starting. And here is where it becomes even more powerful. They are beginning to accept that the distance they created does not define the connection. That time apart does not erase what was real. That silence does not mean the end, it simply means there is something waiting to be spoken. And this understanding, it frees them. It removes the weight of overthinking. It softens the fear of being misunderstood. It allows them to approach you with something simple but powerful, truth. Something huge is waiting for you, because this is no longer just about them. This is about both of you stepping into a moment that has been building for longer than you realize. The energy between you has not disappeared, it has been waiting, aligning, preparing for this exact shift. And now, it is beginning to move again. And then, something unexpected happens. They start to feel a sense of calm, a quiet confidence that wasn't there before. Not because they know exactly what will happen, but because they know what they need to do. And sometimes, that is all it takes. Not certainty of outcome, but clarity of intention. They may pause one more time, just before they act. A moment of reflection, a moment of feeling everything they have been holding inside. But this pause is different from before. It is not hesitation, it is preparation. It is the final moment before movement. Don't skip, because this is where everything begins to come together. They are no longer looking at the distance as something permanent, they are seeing it as something that can be changed. And once a person truly believes something can change, they begin to change it. And now, the ice is no longer just melting, it is breaking open. The space between you is no longer silent, it is filled with possibility. The question is no longer, what if? It is, what now? And here is the part you must feel deeply, because something is about to shift in your reality. The message, the call, the sign, however it comes, it will not feel random. It will feel like something that was meant to happen, something that arrives at the right moment, in the right way, carrying the weight of everything that has been unspoken. Stay with this, because this is only the beginning of what unfolds next. The first step is the hardest, but once it is taken, everything else begins to move. And your person, they are closer than ever to taking that step. So remain present, remain open, because the silence you once knew is reaching its end. And what replaces it will not be distance, but connection, in a way that feels deeper, clearer, and more real than before. And just before everything changes, there is always a moment that feels almost unreal, a quiet pause where time seems to slow down, as if the world itself is waiting to see what happens next. Your person has reached that moment now, not the kind of moment filled with noise or urgency, but one filled with awareness. A deep awareness that something within them has shifted permanently. They can no longer go back to how things were. they can no longer pretend the distance is comfortable, they can no longer silence what keeps rising inside them. And in that realization, something powerful awakens. They begin to understand that breaking the ice is not about finding perfect words, it is about being real. And this understanding changes everything. Because before, they thought they needed the right timing, the right situation, the right explanation. But now, they see it differently. They see that what truly matters is honesty. Even if it's simple, even if it's imperfect, even if it's just one small step. Because that one step carries something much bigger. It carries intention, it carries truth, it carries the willingness to reconnect. Don't skip this, because this is where the energy becomes undeniable. They are no longer imagining the moment, they are moving toward it. The hesitation that once held them back has softened, not completely gone, but no longer in control. And for the first time, they feel ready, not fully prepared, not completely certain, but ready enough to begin. And sometimes, that is all it takes to change everything. There is a quiet courage growing inside them now, the kind that doesn't need to be seen, the kind that doesn't make noise, but the kind that moves a person forward even when uncertainty still exists. They are no longer focused on what could go wrong, they are focused on what could finally be made right. And this shift, it changes their entire perspective. The distance no longer feels like a wall, it feels like something that can be crossed. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you in this exact moment. They begin to let go of the weight they have been carrying, the unsaid words, the unanswered feelings, the questions they never voiced. And as they let go, they feel lighter, clearer, more aligned with what they truly want. And what they want is no longer hidden from them. It is simple, direct, and undeniable. They want to reconnect. They want to break the silence. They want to end the distance that has kept them away from you. And then, something happens that they didn't expect. Instead of fear increasing as the moment gets closer, it begins to fade. Not because the situation becomes easier, but because their desire to reach out becomes stronger than their fear of doing so. And when desire becomes stronger than fear, action follows. Something huge is waiting for you, because this is where everything begins to shift from internal to external. The thoughts, the feelings, the realizations, they are no longer staying inside. They are moving outward, preparing to become something real, something visible, something that will reach you. And in that moment, when they are finally about to take that step, they pause again, but this pause is different from all the others. It is not hesitation, it is awareness. Awareness of how much this means, awareness of how much has been left unsaid, awareness of how one simple action can change everything between you. Don't skip, because this is the turning point. The moment where everything that has been building, everything that has been unfolding quietly, finally meets action. The ice is no longer just breaking, it is gone. The space between you is no longer frozen, it is open. And here is what you must feel deeply, because this is not just about them reaching out. This is about a connection that refused to disappear, a bond that remained even in silence, a story that did not end when it seemed like it did. It is about something that has been waiting for the right moment, and that moment is now closer than ever. You may not know exactly when it will happen, or how it will happen, but you will feel it when it does. Because it will not feel forced, it will not feel random, it will feel natural, like something that was always meant to unfold this way. Stay with this feeling, because what comes next is not just communication, it is understanding. Not just words, but meaning. Not just connection, but something deeper than before. And as this moment approaches, one thing becomes clear: the distance that once defined everything between you, is no longer the strongest force. Something stronger has taken its place, and it is finally ready to be seen.